Despite the other women, I always made love to Ava as if she was the only one.
Despite the other podcasts, I always want you to listen to spoilers as if we're the only one. This is spoilers. This is Lord of War spoilers.
What?
I hear you can do a good Nick Cage impression, Josh.
Yeah, you were warming up before the pod.
Yeah, it got mixed reviews. I decided not to go ahead and dive into that.
It had good bones.
No, I didn't even practice that. It was just a joke. Anyway, this is spoilers. Welcome. We're going to be talking about the 2005 movie Lord of War. It's a Nick Cage vehicle. Do you guys want to go east to west or Westeros to east leastest? What are you guys thinking tonight?
Westeros to leastest.
That's what you want to do? Okay.
We always go east to west.
Let's switch it up. We'll go Westeros to eastest. Kylo, before you say like where you're recording from, I just wanted you to talk about Morbius. He's in this movie. You've had this weird thing. I don't know if you call it like a bit, but can you just explain your stance on like Morbius for real, and then maybe a little bit what you think about Jared Leto in this movie as your opening question?
Play the music.
I want Morbius, not less. Are you sure, Bius? I guess. Cause I'm gonna lose my mind. I want Morbius, not less. Are you sure, Bius? I guess. Gonna lose my mind when he says the line. It's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time.
Morbin up. Buy out the theater. I'm bringing all my friends.
It's Morbin time. Mastodon. No. Hi, this is Corey, recording out of Simi Valley. You said to say that later, but that's fine. Also called Kylo Ren memes. You know, yeah, Jared Leto's in this movie. That's an interesting thing. He is a meme, and he's a meme from Morbius, I think. You know, it took him 50 years on Earth to become a meme. I don't think Jared Leto was ever a meme. He was kind of like a joke, right? And people like kind of cringed at him, and he's a cult leader, and apparently he's a weirdo. And Steve told me that he's been accused of some pretty heinous crimes. But I like this era of Jared Leto Morbius. Pre-Morb Leto is pretty fucking good. Yeah. There was a time in my life when I was like, you know what? This Jared Leto guy, he's one of the greats. I was kind of like leaning that direction, you know? If he had like a few more movies like Dallas Buyers Club, I would have been on this dude's side, definitely. But somewhere along the line, sometime after Mr. Nobody or Dallas Buyers Club, he just got really fucking weird. And then his movies got weird and bad. And then he did the Joker thing and really overplayed that. You know, the Joker thing was very famous where like he was sending used condoms to his fellow actors like in the mail or some shit because he was constantly in character. Because he's a fucking method actor, this guy. Fucking cringy as shit. Ever since then, it's really been downhill. It's weird to think that he's 50 years old now because he's still a very handsome man. But, you know, you can see the baby face in this movie for sure.
I find it hard to blame him for Batman from Suicide Squad being a mess when they propped him up like he was a big deal and they cut like 90% of his scenes.
He still acted like a douche, though, no matter how many scenes he got.
Yeah. But
let's move to the middle of the country. Got Pappy. My question for you, Pappy, is just, I asked you to do some spoilers lore research.
Oh, yeah.
Can you give us the update on who's the king of spoilers? I assume it's still a C-3PO, and just like, I don't know, anything else you found out. We have Ian Holm, who I know has been in a lot of spoilers movies, and Nick Cage, who's been in quite a few. What's the rundown?
Yeah, so we have 2 6-movie clubbers in this movie. Ian Holm, which he has 114 acting credits on Letterboxd. And of course, Nick Cage, who Josh should do a great impression of. You should really bust that out as Great Bones. He has 123 credits on Letterboxd.
That's just from last month, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. But we've done 6 of each, and Josh, to your delight, I knew you already knew this, but we have a new king of spoilers. And he's all about family. Vin Diesel, obviously king of spoilers.
I didn't want to believe that it was true, but Anthony Daniels was the king of spoilers for like 4 years running.
It was way too long. Yeah, I think we just posted it on our Instagram, but it's pretty much the exact same list. If you've been in a lot of Spider-Man movies or Fast and Furious movies, you dominate. Spoilers.
Let's not forget, though, Vin Diesel is in like the Avengers movies as Groot, and that kind of slips under the radar. Like, people forget that he plays Groot. My wife never knew that he played Groot until we watched the Galaxy, what is it called? The Holiday Special?
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. But yeah, so that probably counts for a lot of his movies with us too, right? Like 2 or 3 Avengers movies or something.
Anybody else rise in the ranks, Pat?
That's a good question.
I was surprised by Willem Dafoe.
Let's go.
10 movie club, Willem Dafoe.
Crazy.
Well, you get the Spider-Mans in there. Been a part of a couple Punishment movies. Boondock Saints, which Corey hosted.
Antichrist.
Jake Gyllenhaal biding his time. Only 2 away from the king spot. Waiting.
That was my other question. Where's Jake?
He's right there. We're waiting for him. But also just shout out to Steve Buscemi. 7 movie club, and none of those are part of a franchise. I found that to be interesting. All just like individual movies. So good for Buscemi.
Unfortunately, also kind of in the middle of the country there, clustered around you, Pappy. We couldn't have Mikey or Stevie on tonight. They're busy with other things, but we do have Brett from Fort Wayne. Brett, you're kind of like the gun lore person on our podcast,
I suppose.
So I asked you, for the opening question, would you tell us a little bit about the real life Merchant of Death, the Lord of War, Russian spy or something? Victor Bout? What's this guy all about?
Looking at Wikipedia, his other names are Merchant of Death, Sanctions Buster, Vadim Markovich Aminov, Victor Bulakin, and then the best one, Victor Butt. So maybe that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time on a guy named Merchant of Death. I don't want him to hear this, but he was actually quite smart. He speaks a lot of languages. He was a translator in the army. The difference between him and Nick Cage is he actually was a soldier, I believe. He famously was involved in the biggest WNBA trade ever a couple weeks ago.
Wow, dude. Wow. Didn't see that one coming with your research. Brett, I heard some tell that this movie is like a composite of him and like 4 or 5 other guys. Does that seem right?
Yeah, that sounds about right, because there's some other different stuff, and but I think a lot of the stories are from him. But funnily enough, he talks about, he's all smug at the end of the movie about how he's gonna get off free, which he does. I guess he beat some charges, but after this movie came out is when he got arrested. So, and he got tricked by DEA agents. So not a very good day for him. He got tricked into selling them stuff, and they took him to Thailand and they arrested him there. So that's how he got caught.
Gotcha.
Can I leave you with a quote from Nicolas Cage in a very recent interview?
Yeah.
I was shocked the day I went to the doctor's office as a child and I found out that I had normal organs and a normal skeleton because I was certain I was from another planet. That is a quote Nicolas Cage just said very recently.
Thank you for that unwarranted.
It sounds on
That
par.
sounded like more like for final thoughts, Brett.
I wanted to get to it.
Is that why you pivoted, Josh? Because of the Brittany Griner thing?
No, and
Why we're not doing Taxi Driver today?
There's no pivot. First of all, I would never pivot, but I thought I would trade my future self, the Taxi Driver pick, for Lord of War because, Victor Bout has been in the news quite a bit with the prisoner trade between the U.S. and Russia. Pretty much everyone knows about it. I feel like clicks are up for Lord of War right now, don't you think, Pappy?
Well, in February when this episode comes out, I don't know, but maybe.
Hey, well,
you never know.
Speaking of taking advantage of everything you can in life, like Spoilers does, let's talk about this movie and our main character, Yuri, Pappy. He is the Lord of War. What's his background? We get a pretty good taste of his family, ethnicity, just what's going on with him at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, it's Nick Cage playing Yuri. Kind of an interesting choice because Nick Cage is like kind of usually like an over-the-top type guy, and Yuri's whole thing is almost that he's like disconnected from everything he's doing in a weird way. But he's Ukrainian, you know, very relevant now too. Also ties into the news. His dad's kind of funny because they pretended to be Jewish to get out of Ukraine, and his dad just totally embraced Judaism. So this movie's got a lot of like weird comedy here at the beginning, but we'd be remiss, Josh, if we didn't talk about the Buffalo Springfield bullet opening. I mean, that is one of the coolest parts of this movie. I had seen that like 10 times, and I hadn't seen this movie before.
Yes, that was very cool.
So you guys are talking about the opening credits scene, right? Where the a bullet that we follow from the bullet's point of view as a little tiny, you know, a small bullet, of course, goes from like the manufacturing plant from hand to hand until it eventually lands with the people that are buying these illegally, presumably from Nick Cage, and they end up shooting a child in the head. That whole sequence, it is, in my opinion, a little over ambitious. I don't think it looks very good. It looks very strange.
It doesn't hold
this
up.
movie came out in the 2000s, and you know, I've been a 2000 CGI activist for a long time. I don't think the special effects were very good in that era when they get really computer heavy. Not that this is wholly, you know, computer generated stuff, but it just looks weird with the real backgrounds, and it feels weird. To me, I think it's a good idea, and I like that they're doing something different here, but I don't think it fully works with what they're doing. It's just, there's always like a strangeness when I'm watching it.
This is gonna be a long pod.
He like zooms his barrel in on all of his allies first. Like the bullet travels all the way through the barrel, and for some reason he like clocks everyone he's friends with, and then he like points it at the kid and shoots him. But what I was actually gonna say is this is the first of many beats the movie hits with child death. Nick Cage's character, what do you guys think? Is he responsible for this kid's death? That bullet that he sold shot him in the face.
I would say Nick Cage is responsible. I mean, but that's what's so weird about casting Nick Cage, is because like this movie has a weird tone, and I feel like Nick Cage kind of holds that together because he can straddle both lines, right? Because like I said, there's jokes about like the dad being like not eating shellfish because he's this pretend Jewish person 2 minutes after child death, you know? And I feel like it's I don't know, it's a tonal weird movie.
I have a hard time don't get me wrong, I think he's a bad guy, but I think they make enough allusions to this in the movie, and I think it's true, whether we want to hear it or not. If he's not selling them, somebody else will be. So while he's responsible for bad things, it's just like a never-ending thing. It's gonna happen. Yes, he's a bad guy. I'm just saying that Africa was warring long before he was around, and they're going to war a lot long after he's gone. That's my only point. But certain people, I guess that one little village in the tents, I mean, that's probably his fault, but I mean, they were kind of waiting around to kill those people, so that's the only devil's advocate I'll play. Like, he's a bad dude. There's no arguments for me there.
It's interesting you bring that up because in my estimation, Nick Cage's character has three main arguments for why it's okay that he's selling the firearms. Number one is, if I stop doing this, someone will take my place tomorrow. I think you just outlined that. Yeah. Number two is, I sell a means for people to defend themselves. And then the third one is that big government sells more firearms than I do anyway. Like, I'm just a drop in the bucket. So
which of these arguments do you think works? Do you think the number two works at all? Like, I'm just selling these defensive tanks. You know, these are the defensive kind. I don't know. Some of the big arms he sells are used for things that are a little bit outside the realm of self-defense, I might think.
The war helicopter, or the humanitarian helicopter, rather.
Pappy, I honestly wrote these in italics with you in mind. What are your thoughts generally on this whole situation? And again, the morality of the Merchant of Death.
This is a true story. When I was in college, Philip Morris, like the cigarette company, or maybe Ben Altria, one of those two, like came on campus and was doing like a recruiting event. I remember they had like a Q&A, and one of the kids like just straight up asked like, how do you like live with yourself selling products that kill people? And their answer was, well, if we didn't do it, somebody else would. And I don't know, that's always been a pretty good indication to me whenever people have to bust out that defense that what you're doing is pretty fucked up. You know what I mean? You're not doing a good thing. Like, no one who helps society has ever said, well, if I didn't do it, somebody else would, you know? So that doesn't work for me. I would say, like, if anything, maybe the drop in the bucket defense is kind of relevant, but I don't know. To Ian Holmes' point, like, he was at least, I don't know. I mean, at least he was trying to do what was right. Nick Cage is kind of just indiscriminately selling guns to whoever.
Yeah,
and
Ian Holmes' character murdered somebody, so...
No. That's true. But I'm saying at the beginning when he was like, I don't know, like, Ian Holmes basically a puppet of the United States government, like who he's selling to, I thought. But, I mean, I don't know. If you're selling weapons that are going to be used in genocide, you're probably not a good guy, no matter how you rationalize it.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to rationalize it.
Not
was,
you.
Okay,
I'm talking about Nick Cage here.
I was just saying...
Nick Cage.
Yeah. The Merchant of Death. Nick Cage.
I don't think he's a good guy.
What happens to Nick Cage in the first place to, like, give him this epiphany?
Yeah, New York, I think he's at. Seems like a really shitty place. He's like, everywhere I go, people are getting whacked. I'm always like walking down the subway and some guy gets shot in the fucking head. So, this time, I guess when he witnesses a murder, he realizes, oh my God, you can make a lot of money off of murder. And I think he's right. So he kind of quickly forms the idea and really even more quickly starts becoming an arms dealer of sorts, right? Starting small time and then, again, very quickly becoming big time. This part of the movie is a little bit unclear to me, but I can see why they don't spend a lot of time, going through his process of becoming an arms dealer. He's just like, I'm going to do it, and then he's done it. I can see why in terms of the story, but this watch, I've seen this movie one other time. This watch, I really was like, oh, okay, he's doing it now. All right.
How does he have the contacts with like foreign governments? He's flying all over the world. He sells one Uzi, and like his next step is to like, I don't know.
Well, in the
become an
airport,
international arms smuggler.
well, anytime he wants, his brother can block off guards and he can talk to any diplomat. His Jared Leto just has to say, "Hey, they're just talking."
They're talking.
Yeah.
That scene really
He brought his
bothered me.
big guns,
Sorry.
This guy, don't fuck with this guy. He'll mob out on you, man. This guy lives in a society, man.
Be right back.
Mr. Weiss? Mr. Weiss?
It's okay, they're talking. May I help?
Yes, a mutual friend. Eli Kurtz.
Yeah, so he witnesses like directly a shooting go down. He has this epiphany, and kind of the next step before he can really jump fully into Merchant of Death life. He's all about that life. He's got to convince his brother to get on board, right?
I suppose. I guess it's not that hard to do at that point in their lives because both their lives kind of suck and their prospects aren't that much better. So, but it does seem to have more of a conscience than his brother, obviously. Crap. Hold on. Gosh dang it.
Brett, what just happened?
Hold on, guys.
I'll just pass it over to you, and Brett can catch back up if that's okay, Pappy.
Yes.
Do you remember
Dang it.
early on, like, I think this is a major story beat. Like, he kind of has to rattle Jared Leto's cage a little bit to get him to join into this whole Merchant of Death business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I thought of this movie a lot in terms of like a character alignment chart in a lot of ways. And I feel like Nick Cage is like lawful evil, and Ethan Hawke is like whatever the other one is, like lawful good. And Jared Leto is just like pure fucking chaotic neutral. Like I don't know. He has a sign on his door that says, beware of dog. And it's a reminder to himself to not have sex with every girl that he sees and attack every smaller dog that he sees. He's just he's a loose cannon. But I think Jared Leto's like awesome in this role too. Like I thought he was like really good in this movie.
You know, he really is. He's really compelling. I didn't think about that alignment so much, Pappy, but I think that really works, right? Like the lawful evil aspect of Nick Cage as Yuri, right? Because it's like he knows what he's doing is wrong, but he still does it, and he kind of like makes excuses that he also knows are bullshit, but he doesn't want to like directly kill anyone, you know? He's not interested in that, but he's okay with facilitating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that first drug deal where they're selling gun deal, where they're selling the AKs by the pound or the kilo or whatever, and Nick Cage is all there doing business, and Jared Leto just walks up and like fires an AK-47 in the air randomly, like, see, it works. Like he's just, I don't know. He might not be the best person to go in business with, but he more so than Nick Cage like kind of changes throughout the movie, right? Like he's the only character I think with like an arc in the movie.
What do you think that arc is?
He goes from chaotic neutral to slightly chaotic good when he's throwing those grenades and blowing up the stuff.
When he's throwing those grenades. Did you guys feel like it was a little bit cliche how much they were saying brother to each other?
Yes.
Like, we get it. It's a movie and you are brothers. We understand. Thank you.
Not when they say it in Russian.
They're brothers in arms, bro.
The first thing Jared Leto says is like, hi, brother. Like, I guess I do call him Brother Jordan when he's on the pod. Do people get sick of that?
That's different. He's a monk.
Because I need to stop.
He's a monk. It's different.
I haven't heard that many brothers since Arrested Development. Hey, brother. Anyway.
Hey, brother.
I am okay.
Brett, what happened to you? We need to stop down the pod again for Brett. What just occurred?
I'm in trouble. I have this bad habit of not screwing the caps on my pops, and I knocked one over and I caught it upside down and it spilled everywhere, and then all the fizz came up and erupted all over my phone, the cords, my body. And now Brittany said I can't have my pop back.
Well,
and I can't have another one.
That seems fair.
So for people that lived in civilized society, what is pop?
Pop is what most normal people call carbonated beverages. Soda pop.
What specific pop? What pop is it? Can you just say the brand?
I drink
flavor?
Diet Mountain Dew. I pretty much just drink Diet Mountain Dew. 16.9 ounce bottles or whatever they are.
Are you back in the pod now, or do you need to like get clothes on or something?
No, that's all right. I do have clean clothes on because I've already showered. No, I'm fine. But I would be remiss to all my gun enthusiasts to correct Pappy, when they're selling those guns by the kilo, those are actually M16s.
Bro.
And not AK-47. So there you go.
What was the nickname for Angel or AK-47? Like Angel Wings or something like that?
Angel King, wasn't it?
Angel King.
Because it's AK.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird. Sorry, everybody. I'm sorry to my wife. She hates me right now.
I'm just thinking about how much worse you spilling Mountain Dew is since it's so close to her birthday. Like, how dare you?
I know.
Birthday like
I know.
this. She's told you a million times about that.
She has told me a million times, and
Why?
I just don't want to unscrew it and screw it on.
Why?
Because it's easier.
Why?
I drink so much soda, Pop.
Why are you so fucked up?
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know, man. Because I am.
It's a line from the movie. Sorry, Brett. I couldn't resist.
Corey, there's him getting, he gets addicted pretty quick. He goes on a bender pretty quick. But I guess that's some Colombian...
Yeah, that might be a factor. You know, he's got, like, the good shit. Like, he starts off with, like, the pure shit immediately. That's probably really hard to get away from in terms of, like, the chemical addiction.
They're not cutting it with stuff.
But, you know, some of us, Brett, we're just always drug addicts. And, maybe we don't do drugs until a certain point in our life, and then we realize it. And this dude has always been a drug addict.
That makes sense. Well, you actually had never heard it stated that way, and that's awesome and sad at the same time. But also, some people have addictive personalities, and he seems to have that. But yeah, that's really cool. Like, you're always a drug addict, even if you've never done drugs.
Can I ask you a sincere question? I've never done cocaine. Honestly, it seems awesome.
Yeah, right.
I promise you I never have. Dude, Jared Leto makes it seem awesome in this movie at the beginning.
Great.
At the beginning.
You have to mark this YouTube video as not for kids on YouTube. We're encouraging cocaine use.
They better not be listening to Lord of War.
It goes downhill really fast for him. But at the beginning, I'm sincerely asking you this, Kylo. What is it like hitting pure, fresh cocaine, especially if it's...
from a Colombian drug lord.
Especially if you, aren't tolerant to it, and this is one of your first few times, and I'm just really curious.
You do not have to answer this question, Corey.
I'm just curious, and if you don't want to answer, that's fine.
Yeah, when you do blow, the first thing you'll notice is the chemical nature to the smell. It's this weird it seems very artificial, the smell of it, and kind of the taste as well. But then that kind of becomes part of the appeal. That smell gives you the pre-rush, right? And then you start to feel it inside of you, and it's a numbing sensation. And again, at first it's kind of there's an awkwardness to it and maybe a slight discomfort, but then you really start to enjoy that. And when you start to feel that numbness, you're doing some real shit here. There's been a lot of occasions in my life where I was given something that was deemed as cocaine, and it wasn't. I don't know what powder they gave me, but it definitely was not cocaine. But for me, Josh, the appeal of the cocaine is the way it makes your fucking brain feel. It's you feel smarter and more sharp, and you feel funnier and more energy. Obviously, that's a big part of it, but it's an instant upper. It's an upper.
It's a big amphetamine hit, right? A big...
Yeah, that is a little crazier the way it affects your brain, though, because your brain, it's you get high and your brain starts to expand, but then with meth, your brain starts to feel slightly warped, and there's it's kind of a dirtiness to the chemical sensation of meth, right? It's you kind of feel oh, there's probably some gasoline in this or something. It never quite feels right. And if you snort meth, it fucking hurts because it's shards of looks and feels like little tiny rocks, and you can only get it up so small, right? There's always a little bit of sharpness to it, and that it hurts when it goes up your nostril. But coke, man, I'm sure at least one other person here has done coke. So I don't have to be the only one to speak to it. My appeal was what it did to my brain.
What about brown?
Yeah, that's gunpowder and coke from this movie, but
how does that make you feel when you do it?
Kylo, I honestly appreciate your sincere response, and I think...
Yes, thank you. It's awesome.
I'm torn about is a lot of the movies we like and have reviewed on this podcast, it's been known that the writer and sometimes writer-director was high as hell on cocaine during this period of their life. So I don't know how to reconcile that necessarily.
Well, yeah, but sometimes you get maximum overdrive, which is, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean it's always good when that happens.
But sometimes you get John Hughes.
I mean, I talked about this on our Star Wars holiday special podcast, that Big Dumb Movie, Josh.
Classic.
But I think cocaine gets the blame for a lot of mistakes in filmmaking. And I don't think it's always fair to blame the cocaine, right? It's just your brain going into overdrive and like you able to stay up for a longer period of time. Maximum overdrive might be an exception, but in a lot of cases gets a bad rap.
I think the next biggest beat to hit as far as this movie goes is he got his brother to join him. Now he needs to convince his wife to wife him.
Yeah. So this is just kind of like another pretty, you could say genius, you could say crappy thing that he did. He booked his childhood crush to a fake photo shoot and like rented out the hotel. He did not have the money to do this, but he did it anyway. And he kind of used all that little information to get her to fall in love with him. And the rest is history. And then he spent the first couple of years of his marriage, it seemed like, maxing out credit cards to try to make her think that he really was that rich. So he kind of at that point had to get rich to
get love, man. You got to be rich. Otherwise, how you going to get love?
Yeah.
Pappy, do you like the way he tricks his wife?
I don't know. Doesn't Ethan Hawke call her his trophy wife later? Like,
yeah.
I just don't like the thought of like Nick Cage. He's been looking at her weirdly. Like he knows way more about her than she knows about him. So let's just be fair about that.
Okay, this is kind of a question I have. I would ask this to Stevie if he were here. But what is Nick Cage actually motivated by? Like what does his character actually care about?
Bitches and money.
I think he likes
being good at it. That's it.
Stealing arms. Yeah. I think he gets off on that. I mean, he said it's not just about the money. He's like, I'm really good at it. He's really good at something, which is, the American dream, I suppose, in a mafia type way. I mean,
yeah, I don't think that's legit though. Like it just means that he's smart, right? And maybe he's good at sales or some other skill set that can be applied to something else where he can still make a lot of money. Now he does kind of have a take on this where he says something like, making honest money has its problems because there's too many people doing it or something like that.
The margins are too low.
Yeah, that red tape and margins are bad. Yeah.
So Nicolas Cage, he wines and dines this model that he's been stalking. And he eventually starts a family with her.
Family.
There's kind of this key scene, I think, where his young son, is just starting to walk. But what is he far more focused? Nick Cage is like far more interested in something else, isn't he, Pap?
The end of the Cold War. Yeah, I think it's Christmas time. He's got his family over, his parents. She doesn't have a family, which the movie explains that, which kind of like is why she's always around all the time. There's not really anyone, I don't know, telling her to get out maybe or something. But yeah, it's the end of the Cold War, which means it's the beginning of the best time to be an arms dealer ever. And his son takes his first steps and he's just like, yeah, it's great, honey. And like goes back to making out with Gorbachev on the TV. He's not motivated by family. That's for sure.
Despite the other women, I always made love to Ava as if she was the only one.
What is your point with the whole motivation thing?
Well, this is what I was going to say. I think at first he's trying to ramp up his operations to like actually achieve the lifestyle. But then at some point, I don't even know if it's clear in the movie. At some point, it stops being about the money and it starts just being about maintaining his empire and being good at something. But I think at first it's like literally just to impress this girl on a lot of levels.
So what's the problem with that? What's Harry Potter's motivation? He's good at being a wizard. He's got to be a wizard.
He wants a family.
Yeah, and what happened to Nick Cage's family? They're like displaced, and he was finally going to use capitalism to like his benefit. He was going to use the wizardry to his benefit. I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch. Anyway, Kylo, we got you back yet?
No, I love it. Keep it going.
This whole thing with the Cold War, like Gorbachev ends the Cold War on TV. He's making out with his TV set. It sets up this whole set piece, Kylo, with Nick Cage's uncle, who actually has been in Ukraine this whole time and is a very powerful man, right?
That's right. Maybe Nick Cage is all about family after all, and all the benefits that you get from it.
Family.
Yeah. The end of the Cold War really lets Nick Cage here, expand his empire to trading in that area of the world, including an area where where a relative of his can be easily manipulated into illegally selling Nick Cage a shitload of guns and ammunition and etc.
Ты слушаешь, что я тебе говорю, лейтенант? Ты попридержи их как можно дольше. Блядь, стоять насмерть! Позади Москва! Понял? Это приказ!
I thought you were supposed to be watching out for these people.
How can I? You keep selling my helicopters. You are too greedy, Yuri. I can't hold him forever.
I've got paperwork.
Not for the gunships. You know the penalty for sanction busting? Selling the military helicopter is a major violation.
Military helicopter.
The uncle's kind of funny. Like,
Yeah, I like him.
a lot of the side characters who we meet in other countries provide some of like the comic relief. Like, I mean, it's kind of like black comedy because the uncle's like, I was the luckiest man alive. And he gets blown up in his car
Yeah,
right away. But I like the character of the uncle.
sad.
He's a goofy guy.
He seems real though too. Like I don't think he's playing it necessarily over the top. I was actually sad when he died. That sucked when he died.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you guys about just like the way this movie is structured. Because like I was watching it and I feel like I've seen a lot of movies like this, right? Where we get to see how like this guy like kind of like works his way up in some criminal empire and it's based on a real story maybe. And he makes so much money, he does so much drugs and he sleeps with so many women. Isn't that pretty cool? And like,
He's so
cool. I don't think it is.
It's like Chris Pratt. So cool.
He's so cool.
Yeah, he's no Chris Pratt, this man. It's like, I'm watching this and I'm thinking like, I remember thinking this was pretty cool in 2005 or 6, whenever I saw this. But like, I don't know, maybe this is just like a type of story that's either done too much or maybe can only be done by Martin Scorsese or something. I don't want to say this movie's bad. That's not really what I'm getting at. Is this structure of story, right? It's intended to invoke an emotion when you watch it. Like, I'm supposed to be like, wow, this is pretty shitty, but man, that was pretty badass. And this is kind of badass. And wow, look how he outsmarted them. It's like, well played, guy. And
Are we supposed to think that?
I think so. It seems to be the way they're selling it, right? With his like narration over it. Am I picking up on this the wrong way, Brett?
There are over 550 million firearms in worldwide circulation. That's one firearm for every 12 people on the planet. The only question is, how do we arm the other 11?
No, you might be. I just didn't think about it that way. And it's funny you bring up Scorsese because this does parallel Wolf of Wall Street, but that's done so much better. Kyle Chandler's character is so much better than Ethan Hawke in that kind of role. And funnily enough, what's his name? Jordan Belfort is more likable because he's not killing anybody. I don't know. You know what? I mean, the more you mention it, but I wasn't like, man, he's cool. I thought the plane thing was cool where he parked his plane and gave the guns away, but not cool because that's terrible, but that was fun, I guess.
Yeah, that's like the kind of emotion I'm talking about, right? Like you don't really know how to describe it, so I'm just using the word cool, but like, whatever, an endearing, charming quality to it is the way it's being pitched. And underneath it, it's like, oh, this isn't like really like a good thing. And to me, I think, the original, which is probably not really the original, is like Goodfellas, right? And it's kind of that similar storyline.
Have you ever heard of like the trickster spirit or something, Kylo?
Loki.
Not Loki. I guess Loki is, but geez, that really just ruined everything. But
I mean, what you said makes me think of a movie called Brain Scan, which I'm sure you don't know of, but go on.
I just think Nick Cage is like, he's like somehow lawful. I don't know if he's evil. I don't know if he's evil.
definitely evil. What?
Is he lawful, though? I don't know if I agree with your assessment at all. Like the movie...
There's 9 spots on the alignment chart. Pick one for him, Josh.
I need to look at the alignment chart.
I'm saying lawful evil. Good, evil, chaotic, lawful, neutral.
He has to be on the extreme of lawful, I agree, because he's like a lawyer. Like litigation and being on top of all the known laws and articles is one of his superpowers, right?
Yeah.
But why is he not neutral?
Because I don't know, he knows the like inner workings of systems so well. Like he'll have everyone take the.
He sells to leftists and rightists.
I guess. I don't know.
I think they go through pains to say he's neutral.
All right, I'm going to read the definition.
Thank you, Kylo.
For lawful evil. A lawful evil villain methodically takes what he wants within the limits of his code of conduct without regard for whom it hurts.
Right.
He cares about tradition, loyalty, and order, but not about freedom, dignity, or life. He plays by the rules, but without mercy or compassion.
See?
What rules does he play by?
He doesn't sell drugs. He looks down on the drug selling. Like when that first guy offers it to him, it's beneath him. He won't, for some reason, do that, but he will sell guns.
I'm just saying, getting caught with a couple of Glocks and getting caught with a couple kilos of coke, one you'd probably do 30 years, the other you'd probably do 5 years. So,
but that's not why he turns it down. He turns it down because it's beneath him.
It seems to be that way, yeah.
Wouldn't you think evil would be like you want to like hurt people or something? Why isn't that part of that chart, Kylo?
No, he takes what he wants with no regard for whom it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
That seems true.
Like even if he's not the one, that's not the whole point of the scene with him. That's the whole point of the scene with him pulling the trigger, right? Like even though he doesn't pull the trigger, he's still ultimately responsible in a lot of ways. But
governments sell more firearms than he would in one whole year in one day. Anyway, just the U.S. government.
Yeah, there's people worse. There's worse things. Sometimes something worse will happen. So how about that thing?
Corey, I know what you mean though about the structure. And here's my whole thing. Like when I was getting the motivation, like Nick Cage's character has no arc, like because he gets off with it at the end. This movie's like more like an Adam McKay movie where it's like talking about like a system. You know what I mean? Because it's not accurate to the Merchant of Death guy's life. And like, I don't think the movie's trying to make him look cool, but it's just more trying to like shed light on international drug running and why it's bad.
I see what you're saying. I don't know. When I watched Vice, I remember I'm sorry for anyone that is a fan of former vice president, but I remember watching and thinking like, this piece of shit. Like I was like pretty angry by the end of that with this dude. This one, you know, I get a little bit of that, but it is not really pushing me in that direction as much. I don't know why. Maybe it's because something like Vice is more closely, you know, identifiable with reality, with real names and such. I haven't seen a lot of other Adam McKay stuff, so I'll be honest there.
Missing out. A lot better movies than Vice.
No, he wrote the screenplay for Ant-Man. Is that what you mean? It's kind of like Ant-Man?
No, The Big Short is way better in my opinion.
This movie's a lot like Ant-Man, Pappy.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Did you say my name, Josh?
Yeah, I just was going to toss to you because we go from this Cold War era with his uncle. His uncle gets blown up in the vehicle. And the next note I have Nicolas Cage's rivals in this movie. He's got 2 main rivals. And you can choose one of them, either one that you want. But we got Ian Holm. He's a rival guns dealer. And then there's also Ethan Hawke, who's like the lawful good, who's chasing this lawful evil man around. Which one do you want to take?
I'd rather take Ethan Hawke, I suppose. I understand him more.
Because of how good you both are. You're both so good and lawful.
Yeah. Sure. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, yeah, he's an Interpol agent. And he's I don't know, one of the few good people.
Good band.
Good morals. He wants to see this guy in jail, but he's not going to break the law to put him in there, really following the rules and stuff like that. So he chases him down. He's got good instincts, but, you know, Nicolas Cage is always just a little bit ahead of him.
They say every man has his price, but not every man gets it. Interpol agent Jack Valentine couldn't be bought, at least not with money. For Jack, glory was the prize.
Yeah, it's the Kono, it's not the crystal. Kono, K-O-N-O.
Agent Jack Valentine, you son of a bitch. That name, though, right? That's there's something very classic about that as like the government agent name, Agent Jack Valentine.
Yeah,
it's solid.
Not the best.
But this guy is committed to his ideology, right? Like he is.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
He is very much like a government agent for the purpose of like stopping evil. That's why he does it. He wants to stop bad guys, and he very much believes in that in his soul, it seems.
But he's not a guy that the ways justify the means. Like he won't get there outside of like the straight and narrow path. Like he's got to catch him within the rules. If he can't catch him within the rules, he's got to let him go and try again. And there's something respectable about that. You could get into a whole long conversation about other law enforcement and if that's true for everybody's. But with this guy, like one of his guys wants to kill him in Africa. And he's like, we could, no one would ever know. But he's basically like, we'll know. So his ideology is very important to him.
Yeah, Pap, it turns out this lawful good to chaotic evil chart really comes in handy for this movie. Huh?
That's what I was thinking the whole time I was watching this. Because like Brett said, yeah, there's the one guy in Africa who's like, let's can you run without legs or something? And Ethan Hawke's like, no, we can't do that. Ethan Hawke, 2 Movie Club, by the way. Also in The Northman.
That's it?
Well, he's in Serendipity or whatever. He was in that weird one where he plays his dad, grandma,
Serendipity?
mom.
Oh, Predestination?
Not Serendipity. Predestination.
I missed that.
So you called it Serendipity.
Those are, most 2 movies are a little different.
3 Movie Club, right. Predestination. Movie Club subject to Pappy's accuracy. So.
Serendipity. What's that, with Minnie Driver or something? Julia Roberts?
Digging a hole, Brett. Anyway, Ian Holm, 6 Movie Club. Spoiler.
Be digging your hole.
Jeez. You know, when I edit an episode, I can hear every time you make a little comment. I add some gain to hear what kind of threat you made and then make a decision on whether to keep it or delete it. But anyway.
It's a fun game for later.
Ian Holm, explain his plot, because I think his role deserves mention specifically, Pappy.
Yeah, Ian Holm is the establishment. Brett, do you think like he's working for the CIA? Like, is he? Because he has like clear political interest, right? When he's selling arms.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that till the end, so I don't know if I'm the best person to ask. I thought he was just a rival, like a more refined rival arms dealer, but
yeah, but it's like more than that, you know?
I mean, we've been giving guns out to people for a long time, but yeah, I think you're right. Why don't you go with that?
Yuri approaches him pretty early on in his gun running days. He sees, Ian Holm at like Gunrunner Con, 1992 or wherever these guys get together.
I have a business proposal. I thought perhaps we could discuss it.
I don't think you and I are in the same business. You think I just sell guns, don't you? I don't. I take sides.
But in the Iran-Iraq war, you sold guns to both sides.
Did you ever consider that I wanted both sides to lose? Bullets change governments far surer than votes.
You're in the wrong place, my young friend.
There's no place for amateurs.
Where they got like, babes in cosplay as military. And seems like a really fun time. Especially if you're Jared Leto. But he sees the Ian Holmes character and he tries to like make a deal with him. He says like, maybe we can work together I sell guns, you sell guns. We're both like, pretty big in the industry. Although Ian Holmes' character is like way beyond. But the way he explains it's pretty interesting. When I forget his name, but when Ian Holmes' character says no, basically, he explains that like, he's like, no, you sell guns, but what I do is I control the outcome of societal systems or something to that effect, right? Like he is more of like kind of like playing chess with the world and deciding how things, how like conflicts end based on his arrangements with countries and with, I don't know, militia groups or with terrorist organizations or whoever it may be. So he's more in the game of like controlling the outcome of the world. At least that's his perception of it.
Mm-hmm. And a big part of that too is
I have to correct you a little bit though. Go ahead. Sorry.
A big part of that too is like that's all happening within the Cold War world, right? So there's like Team US and Team USSR, and he's able to like, manipulate within that and move weapons on behalf of the US to, either adversaries of the USSR or allies of the US. Like once Russia falls, like once this USSR collapses, like there's just too much. The landscape has changed. He's almost like too old to like react to the new landscape. He's not. I don't know. It's weird because he is ruthless. Like he will murder a person, but he also has some other like weird moral code of conduct where he doesn't want to sell to either side, right? Like he wants to pick like the right side to do. So he's like a complex character in that way. What were you saying though, Brett?
Yeah. I was just going to correct Corey. That was actually Gun Runner Con 91.
Oh, okay. That was a good one.
That was a good one. It was good.
I think if Yuri is selling guns to someone who Ian Holmes' character thinks is evil, in his eyes, killing Nick Cage in a car bomb is like a no-brainer, though, right, Pap?
I mean, yeah, probably. I guess because he's thinking more big picture. It still is murder.
In my eyes, the CIA is evil.
The government's the big fish.
Then you are lost.
Kylo, I think Pappy's right. Like, Ian Holmes' character is all about the Cold War era. And once we get out of that, Nick Cage shines even brighter than he did with his uncle in the Ukraine. He's now in Liberia with Andre and Andre Jr. Can you give us some of the highlights of this section of the movie? I really like it, actually.
President Baptiste was my best customer, but I was in no hurry to meet him. He'd gotten a reputation for routinely hacking off the limbs of those who opposed him. His 7-year civil war has been described as a relentless campaign of sadistic, wanton violence. That kind of sums up Andy for me.
He's dealing with these crazy motherfuckers in Africa now. These guys with like gold-plated insert gun name here so Brett doesn't correct me later, These guys, they got like the blinged out like fucking cars, and they got like the entourage of women, but they're not like what you might be thinking when I say that. They're not like, I don't know, this might sound racist, but NBA players, right? They, or a fucking, but they kind of like live that lifestyle, like, like the Playboy, like maybe rap superstar kind of thing, but they're fucking these insane dictators. I think the guy actually has the title of president at this point or at some point, but you can tell that he's clearly not. These guys are just, I don't know, man, crazy motherfuckers that seize power in an area that's war-torn somehow. And
they're dictators.
Yeah, warlord dictators. And Nick Cage has to be involved with them. He starts dealing with them on a regular basis. At first things are pretty cool because he's playing ball, and they gift him 2 women. Now Nick Cage is married, but he cheats on his wife.
Despite the other women, I always made love to Ava as if she was the only one.
Very regularly, including with supermodel waitresses. But he is gifted 2 women at one point, and he's very, very concerned because I believe he says in Africa, 1 of 4 people has AIDS. I don't know if that's an accurate statistic, but
I bet.
What the hell?
seems pretty high.
No, it's bad there. It's bad there.
I think he said in that part of Africa, especially. Not a condom within 100 miles.
Damn, you'd think there'd be a lot, you know? I think they'd be everywhere.
I like the
You mentioned his
Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders that the librarian.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you were bringing up NBA. They, like, literally have Dallas Cowboy cheerleader lookalikes in their car.
Kylo mentioned the infidelity. You guys picked up that's what the opening spoiler was about, right?
Yes.
No, what was it again?
The whole thing with, despite the other podcasts, Nick Cage always made love to Ava as if she were the only one.
I got it.
Did that quote not stick out to you guys?
Definitely did.
Of how bullshit it is, basically.
I mean, the dude is very full of shit.
Andre and Andre Jr. Brett, did you like the stuff about Nick Cage's like wish fulfillment with the Rambo guns and the gold gun that they kept showing, which I'm pretty sure is like a James Bond reference, maybe?
I mean, Corey, I know you think I'm a dick about it, but pretty much any gun you see from like the 30 minutes on, you could say AK or AK-like weapon and you'd be pretty accurate. So this is where like the biggest atrocities happen, but they're almost trying to make Andre or whatever, him and his son, seem funny.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I really like the conversations about Lord of War. What was it? What were some of the other ones?
Oh,
that he says in reverse.
Bath of Blood, doesn't he? Bloodbath.
Yeah, I thought those were pretty well written.
There's going to be a bath of blood.
Yeah,
it's bloodbath.
It's okay. Yeah, it's funny, and I think it's based on Charles Taylor, who is the real president of Liberia. I actually used to work for the Indiana University Department of Liberian Studies for one summer, so I did a lot of like research in this area. But like, I don't know, Josh, does it rub you the wrong way at all that it's like these people who have done like horrific crimes are kind of being played off for comedy a little bit? Like, does it work for you?
This movie goes to a weird place, doesn't it?
It does, right? Yeah.
I think people that do fucked up stuff have a part of their life where they are either kind of normal or trying to be on a level of normal. And this is Nick Cage's character, who's the main character we're supposed to like empathize with. He's kind of like, his whole job is like leveling with those people throughout the movie. Despite the morality of it, is it maybe an interesting place to dwell as far as storytelling and movie making, Pappy? Maybe?
I think so. I mean, it's a black comedy, right? Like, I don't have like a problem with it. It's like lampooning these people, but it's a black comedy.
I don't really see it that way either.
Yeah. I mean, it's a black comedy that also shows like a woman and a child getting hacked to death at one point too, right? It's just a little all over the place. Like sometimes I don't know how to feel.
A lot of child death.
Yeah. Dude, I thought the baby was going to get hit by the plane for real. Like, that is a fucking insane thing. That is so over the top. There's a baby who almost gets run over by a plane as it's coming down. Like that could be in like Airplane or something. That's like slapstick.
Yeah, that was a bit much for me in terms of being taken seriously. I'm like, okay, it's gonna stop right before the baby, isn't it?
It does.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
What if it splatted? Would you have been like, okay, that's pretty cool?
That's a cool shot, though. What it says as far as like a cinematic shot in movie making, I think it's cool.
What if we follow the rubber? Go ahead.
Follow the rubber, okay.
Follow the rubber from the Amazon to getting made into the tire to getting put on the airplane to running over the baby.
Yeah. That would be in the parody movie of this.
Who sold that rubber? the scene where Nick Cage is sitting there and the like commercial plane gets stripped in the background. It's kind of a similar beat, and I think it's really cool. Is anyone else like particularly latch on to that part of the movie?
It's very weird, but I liked it.
Do I need Mikey here? Because I'm pretty sure this is like a practical effect of actual people taking apart an aeroplane.
I was thinking about Jawas. I was like, these motherfuckers are like Jawas. Like, look at them go.
I thought that was a really cool scene.
I could not stop thinking about Star Wars.
Well, isn't that how you mostly are all the time?
Yeah, really.
It's true.
It's a like bold editing choice. It's an editing choice that draws attention to the way this movie's edited. But I do like it. Like I don't know. It's just like both times I've watched it, every time I've watched it, like I'll track like one person as long as I can, right? Throughout that time lapse. It seems to be like, yeah, pretty real. I don't know if it is or not.
Hey, Pat, when we were done with the movie, I said, I like that. And Brittany did too. But we both thought it maybe was like 20 minutes too long. Could you see parts, maybe anybody else too, that could have been cut down? Or do you think it was all not dragged? I don't know. It just seemed like it was long. It didn't seem like it needed to be, especially since somebody brought up that they skipped him becoming a big time arms dealer. They went from him selling Uzis in a ratty apartment to, you know, he's got connections in Europe. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what you would cut. Like that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer. Okay. Like, what exactly do you remove, right? Because I think that is long, definitely. But this movie is trying to be like an epic in its own way about this person's life. Like I was saying, like, you know, like a Goodfellas or like a Wolf of Wall Street. And I can't think of anything specifically that could just be like cut. Like, you don't need that.
I have one.
What about the AIDS stuff?
Not the AIDS stuff, but I would say when Nick Cage walks up to a pack of hyenas and like just kind of like nods at him.
The little dream sequence.
Dude, I don't know. Like, why? It's so silly.
I know they wanted to show that he's spiraled. He's spiraled and he's doing drugs. But it is a little silly.
The weird thing is like I can't imagine any other actor doing that in this movie other than Nicolas Cage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who else would do that?
John Travolta.
Yeah.
Wearing Nick Cage's face.
That's a good answer. I really like that. I appreciate that on a deep level, Brett. Yeah. But you know, so Nick Cage is his own animal, right? Like he's like an A-list like movie star, Nicolas Cage. Everyone knows that name. He's got a good movie star name. Everyone's seen some of his movies, especially like 90s action movies and such.
Academy Award
for one of my favorite movies ever made, about another one about addiction. But it's just weird because he's kind of like always himself, right? There's a lot of like Nick Cage in any character that he plays, and like I don't think he can remove that like in any way, like how I think maybe Jared Leto can. Not saying that he's a better actor, but like, you know, actors have different skill sets, and you're watching this and it's Nick Cage a lot of the time, I feel like, but maybe that helps you kind of like latch onto this guy in a way that you wouldn't so much if it was someone else, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe some of that comes through the performance.
Yeah, if a guy's full method acting, maybe he's not as likable in some way, right? But I was just getting like total Mandy vibes as he's tripping through like the safari, talking to hyenas and stuff. I don't know.
Hell yes.
Well, despite the morality of this movie and the main character, I think it does a pretty good job of wrapping up loose ends and telling a complete story. And there's a few major beats I hit as we covered the plot throughout the spoilers episode. Convincing his brother, his wife to join up with his crew, his rivals. I think a lot of those things come to fruition. Corey, I want to pass it right back to you. His stuff with Ian Holm, his bitter guns arm rifle, how does that finally come to a conclusion? Because I think it's worth noting. It's a pretty jarring scene.
Yeah, it begins the downward spiral that we alluded to of Yuri, because he's been dealing with these African warlord guys, Baptiste, I think it is.
Yeah.
And he comes to his hotel at night, sees Baptiste, and then he sees the Ian Holm character like being held hostage. And the Baptiste guy is like, I got this guy here. He's your rival. I'm gonna let you kill him. And Yuri doesn't want to kill anyone directly. He just wants to facilitate the killings and make a nice profit. He doesn't want to actually
Great margins.
Such good margins.
Not many people willing to do it.
He doesn't want to shoot a man in the head. That's not his game. It's not what he's in for. He's not into that. He'd rather outsmart or outwit his opponent, I think, in terms of, defeating them. But he does kind of participate in the killing. It's a little bit interesting the way Baptiste pulls this off. Baptiste is holding a gun to Ian Holm's head. He puts Yuri's hand on the gun and presumably his finger on the trigger as well and says, "We're going to shoot this guy together. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to give you a hand with this murder. You can stop me if you want. Just say the word. All right, 3, 2, 1. And then he pulls the trigger. Ian Holm's gone. Now Yuri is kind of dealing with this, mental state that anyone would have to deal with if they were that directly involved with the death of another human, where he's like, fuck, I killed someone and this is very much on my mind now. And then he kind of goes and takes a walk with the hyena into the plains of Africa.
Is it because of his morality or just because lawfully he knows now he's culpable for murder? Is that really his only hang up, Pappy?
I don't think so.
It's just the lawfulness?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's outside the bounds of what you would normally like to do. I was going to ask you, is this too do you get it on the nose? He's pulling the trigger literally with these people. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like it was a little bit the rat at the end of Departed. Do you get it?
The rat.
It's yeah, he's not actually pulling the trigger, but he's facilitating whatever this dictator Andy pulling the trigger. Did you get that at all, Josh? Was it too much?
Get it?
I got it.
Did you get it? Yeah.
And I'm gonna toss it back to you to get some more stuff in a second, Pat. But for right now, I was hoping Brett could wrap up the whole thing with Nick Cage losing his wife and Ethan Hawke. It's all kind of one continuous plot line, right, Brett? Because Ethan Hawke kind of plants a seed with his wife that, hey man, Nick Cage, your husband, he's really this huge shitty Satan dude. He's not that great.
So Ethan Hawke, and I don't know, he was with Interpol. I don't know if he's with ATF at this point. I don't know. He do a search warrant. They don't find anything. He knew they wouldn't find anything. He's too smart for that. So like you said, he tries to lay a little seed of doubt in his wife. He knows that her parents were murdered. He tries to do a little sneaky thing about, this is the same person sold those drugs that killed your family, but it doesn't really work at first. And then he's like, hey, I'm gonna go off to my legit business. And she's like, okay, I love you. But she follows him and then finds his... God, I would think he'd have a better lock on that. But anyway, she finds his den of evil, or then that's kind of it for her. She's ticked.
She breaks into his spank bank.
I guess. I don't know much spanking.
He's got a bunch of guns, a laptop, and a big thing of lotion and Kleenex in there for privacy.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Brett, would you tell Brittany if you were an international arms dealer?
I don't know. She'd just be happy, I think, that I had all that money.
So she wouldn't ask questions?
Don't ever ask me about my business, Brittany.
I would literally never do that. I would never do that. I would not have the balls to do any of that. I wouldn't know if I'd tell you if I was an international
You hear that, FBI?
arms dealer.
Don't even look into Brett at all. No reason.
No, I'm way too much of a coward to do anything that illegal.
Brett, I think you established, Brett, that like his wife is like, if you go back to this arms dealing thing, we can't be together because I'm against that. But Ethan Hawke gets him arrested, and this is pretty late in the movie, and I know we're skipping some of the stuff with Jared Leto, but we'll get back to that.
Yeah. Yuri gets arrested. He's in a room. Ethan Hawke's talking about how they're going to throw the book at him. You're going to be in prison for 2 life sentences. You're dead meat. We have so much evidence against you. But Yuri says, basically, you do have tons of evidence on me. You have a lot of names of people I've dealt with. I have a lot of friends. I'm going to be let out because I'm a means to an end for them. I help them out indirectly. And basically, he's like, I'm going to be sprung out of here by a general. And that's exactly what happens.
Was that a general like the United States Army? Was that what we're supposed to believe?
I don't know.
Because, like, I don't know. The movie goes out of its way to say that he's Interpol. Like, if that's the case, then I don't even think the president of the United States could tell him to release it.
Definitely not. I mean, he's definitely Interpol early on, for sure.
So at that point, you point to the UN.
It's in the name, International Police.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter how many badges the general has. Like, that part. And, like, I think at one point, Nick Cage says, like, you report to the president to him, which is like, nuh-uh. They report to the UN. But, like I said, it's, like, more of, like, trying to, like, poke at this industry.
This innocent capitalistic industry. This movie just keeps poking at.
Just some good old-fashioned gun running.
The final thing to wrap up is that Nick Cage can't get through all of this with his brother alive. Nick Cage, his whole of everything that he holds dear in his life, I think his brother is one thing that he just loves, and even though it's tough sometimes, he still loves him anyway. But this last scene, Jared doesn't survive, does he?
Yeah, and it's the scene right before he gets arrested. That's actually why he gets arrested, because there's still one bullet left in the Joker as Nick Cage brings his body back to the United States. I don't know why Jared Leto makes this change here at the end, but like I said, it's a pretty brutal scene of seeing that girl get cut up, and then you just throw some grenades into one of the trucks, blows up half the guns, so Nick Cage takes half the diamonds. I mean, it takes Nick Cage losing everything to even feel like he lost a little bit. And still, even at the end of the movie, it's not like he has to stop selling guns. You know, he gets paid to get out of jail. Like, he's still kind of on top of his empire, which is like the most important thing to him, even though his family's disowned him. His wife and kids have left him, and his brother and his uncle are dead. Like, I don't know. Like, to Corey's point, it seems kind of cool. He comes out on top a little bit.
It seems kind of cool.
I think I know why, though. Why Jared Leto or Vitaly like makes that shift, right? From being the guy that will agree to assist with selling guns to saying, you know what, we absolutely can't do this. I think it really has to do with like how close they are to what's going to happen after they sell the guns, right? Like, it's one thing to like say like take a gun and like sell it to a guy in an alley, and then he leaves and you never see it again. But like, it's one thing to sell a gun to a guy that you hand it to him and he takes it and then he shoots someone in the head right in front of you, right? you'd probably feel differently about those two prospects if you were given both as an option, right? The option 2 here is basically what's going to happen on a larger scale. They're literally going to go walk 100 yards away and slaughter a small village of people with those guns. That's got to impact you, right?
I don't like the scenario. This scenario seems a little implausible. Like, this war chief with dozens of warriors is just waiting to get like this huge shipment of arms to execute like a couple hundred people. I don't want to be like gruesome about it, but you need arms and those kind of guns to fight battles, not to just like kill some women and children in tents. It's a heart tug, but when you look at that like logistically, you're not flying this guy across the world and giving him like your best diamond collection just to like do what could be done with machetes.
It's dark, Josh. Should have stuck with Taxi Driver. Lighthearted film.
Yeah. A witty romp.
Jared Leto dies. He gets shot. It's actually a pretty gruesome death. Don't you guys find yourself when you're watching this wishing he would just like get shot in the head so he stops like twitching around and stuff?
Mercy kill.
And also, what do you think it means that he like takes the pin out of the grenade and everything? Anybody have take on that?
Yeah, he's gonna end it all right there, you know?
Dude, I didn't know that worked. I never knew you could put a pin back in.
As long as the clip doesn't. The pin holds the clip or something. Again, I don't know a lot about grenades, but the pin holds the other thing in. So yeah, I believe you can put it back in, or at least you could.
I know enough about grenades. If the pin's out, I'd chuck it.
Last time I saw Brett, he had strapped to his vest. So.
No, do not, no.
Don't defame
edit
him.
that out.
With a headband.
I do not have any freaking grenades.
Red headband.
Gosh, what is Yuri's brother's name?
Vitaly.
Yeah, Vitaly. Vitaly looks at his brother and he's like, you know what? If I pull this grenade right now, I'll be out of my misery quicker and I'll kill you to take you out of this whole guns trade thing. And I think that's kind of like his last motivation.
Yeah.
And then it's interesting that Nick Cage's last motivation is like, I feel bad that my brother's dying, but I've also been through enough shit that I can like hold my hand steady enough to put this pin right back in the like center circle thing to stop this grenade from blowing up.
Oh, that's not bad. It's like a Godfather thing out front with one of them shaking and Michael's not shaking. Yeah, that's kind of cool actually.
It's in this movie where a lot is explained through narration. But it has this little spot where it tells a lot without narration. Does anyone have any final thoughts?
The O.J. Simpson murders make an appearance in this movie.
That's pretty freaking funny that he's like, I'm never going to Brentwood.
Yeah.
Is that Joe Hansen or God, I want to say the famous African actor who's in everything. Blood Diamond. It didn't matter. Apparently Donald Sutherland's in this movie.
Where? When?
It says Colonel Oliver Southern, but there's 3 people listed as playing Colonel Oliver Southern.
The guy he calls on the phone? Where he's like, now's not a good time?
Maybe that might be him.
Yes, and that
I can't know you right now.
I can't know you right now, and he just clicks up on him. Yes, that is exactly who that is.
Cool.
Oh, Josh. I have one for you. Okay, and a lot of times when I ask you questions, you like dodge around them. You know, give me a direct answer. I just want a yes or no. Okay? After seeing this movie, was the Brittany Griner for the Merchant of Death trade a good deal? Yes or no?
Don't touch that.
No, you have to answer. It's my final thought.
A lot of you may not know, but after final thoughts, we go into our trivia section. And that's when...
let's each answer. We'll all answer. Josh, you just got to go first.
He's going to edit this, I'm sure. He'll edit it right out.
Yeah, you got to go first. You pivoted from Taxi Driver to this because of the Brittany Griner trade. You've done your homework now. You've done your own research.
State the question, and I will
was
answer
the Brittany
it.
Was the Brittany Griner for the Merchant of Death a good trade?
My actual answer is yes. I trust that our government made the right decision on that one.
Come on, man.
All right, who's next? Brett, you go next.
I'll say no. I'll go next. I'll say yes. It's good to have her back. I think it would have been nice to get that spy Marine guy or whatever he was back too. But listen, we're basically in a proxy war with Russia right now. I don't know. Like, it's a morale thing at some level. It really, that kind of counts for something.
It's a good take. Morale, I didn't think about that. I think my opinion is that it is important that we recover our citizens if they're being held, especially if it's not exactly like a fair scenario, right? Where the punishment maybe doesn't fit the crime. That's subjective to some degree, but I think it is important that we make all efforts to recover our people. But there are limits, right? I wouldn't say like give another country access to our nuclear arsenal so that we could get a citizen back. There has to be a limit somewhere with everything. But I think it's a person for another person. Yeah, I think it is.
Brett?
I mean, yeah, it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I don't like how he had to go through Saudi Arabia to even get that going. But it's whatever. I mean, I think they should have tried to get Paul Whelan back, but hopefully they'll get him back at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot more. I don't know if there was any evidence that he was even spying or anything like that, but I don't know enough about it. So,
if it was Shaq, do you think we would have gotten him back faster?
I don't think Shaq would be in Russia for any reason ever.
No, he doesn't have to play in Russia to supplement his income in the offseason.
We genie, Corey. Okay. We don't go to Russia.
So that scenario, the premise is invalid.
It's impossible.
Invalid premise, don't have to answer.
Thank you guys for your final thoughts. I really appreciate that. And also thank you for supporting me on this really shaky host of Lord of War.
No, excellent host.
I wasn't fishing for compliments, truly, but let's move on to our yes or no segment. We have very few segments as Spoilers podcast, but yes or no is one of our oldest things that we will always do forever. We're going the same order we started the podcast with. Westeros, Kylo, out in Simi Valley. Yes or no for Lord of War?
This is Corey, Kylo Ren memes. I am going to give this a soft yes.
Ooh.
So this movie is okay. I've said this before. I don't like when movies are okay, but it's good enough, like in the mid-range margin. It's all about the margins, baby. But it's good enough for me to give it this soft yes. Like it's not a boring movie. It is very long. It's interesting. It's maybe trying to sway me potentially in a way that I don't like fully jump on board with. Again, with like kind of like enjoying this ride. this is a movie that I don't particularly need to ever watch again. And I don't feel like I needed to rewatch it this time. I mean, aside from doing the podcast, but like that aside, just like as a watch, we do a lot of movies on this podcast. And sometimes I sit down and I watch it. And I'm like, really glad I saw that for the first time, or really glad I rewatched that. It's been too long. I forgot how cool it was. Or, maybe with like even Avatar, there's elements that I appreciate on a rewatch that I kind of like forgot about. I have it sitting in a certain place in my mind, and I get to rewatch it and kind of like, I don't know, reassess where it's placed in my mind. And with this one, I think I saw this movie in rehab, which is like also maybe a thing that slightly impacts this, because rehab movies is, I don't know, it kind of felt like they were never really good, the movies we watched in rehab. So like if I saw it in rehab, it's kind of like lumped into the like kind of like okay or bad area in my mind. So I don't know. It sits with me in an awkward place just due to my personal experience. But the movie itself, I think, is best when we see other characters other than Nick Cage. Even though he's charming and everything, but he's just a little bit uninteresting by and large. But the people he surrounds himself with are far more interesting, like his brother, than the Baptistes and such. I don't got much else to say. It's fine, I guess.
Good final word. It's fine, I guess.
Should they be showing you movies where they're smoking Ukraine-shaped Coke?
Well, I was going to ask, did they have this in rehab specifically because the character goes to rehab? Is that like, or
no? It's like one of those things at night, like in the TV room, like put on a movie,
And when they tried to make you go to rehab, did you say no?
Try again.
Heard that one?
No, it's fine.
Heard that one before?
That was rude and weird. I'll go next. This is Josh from
No,
Ghost.
it was hilarious and amazing.
Yeah.
F you.
What are you talking about?
This is Josh from Goshen. I'll give this movie a soft to middling yes. I get this was what this movie is trying to do. I think it's pretty educational, actually, as a movie, although I think it comes across a little try hard. I appreciate big ideas. At some points, it gets a little like too much. You got like the idea of addiction and like guns rights. You have international wars. Like there's just so many things and themes flying around. It's fun. But I think if you get too deep into it, it might fall apart a little bit. But as a movie itself and just like the watching experience, like I said, it's a yes. And I think if you generally enjoy the opening sequence where a bullet is being pressed from like tin metal to looking through a scope to shooting someone, that really is like the movie in a microcosm. And I think it's kind of an interesting thing. It's something that's true to what's happening on Earth. So I'm giving it that yes to soft yes. Pappy.
Yeah, I'll give this a yes. I think this is a good movie. It's not a great movie. Yeah, it feels like an airplane movie in a lot of ways. It feels like a time filler movie. I'm never bored when I'm watching this movie, but I don't know if I'm getting a lot out of it either at the same time. The editing is weird but cool. Like I like it, but I don't know if it like all comes together. Like I really like the opening intro, even though it doesn't look great. Now I just think it's like a cool creative concept, but it also just feels tacked on and weird kind of in context. And like the same thing with like the stop motion or the time lapse dismantling of the plane. I really like Jared Leto in this, and I don't like Jared Leto in general, but he's awesome in this movie. Really good performances all around. Wish we would have done Taxi Driver. Josh, you shouldn't have pivoted, but I will give this a solid yes, and topical. So we'll get those clicks.
The pivot needs medicine, my lord.
Ooh.
All right. I guess I'll go.
Go for it, Brett.
Yeah, I'll give this movie a yes. Not a soft yes, not a solid yes, just a yes. I enjoyed it. I think this is an occasion where the narration did work. I thought it worked fine. I do like Jared Leto a lot, and I thought he was really good in this movie. I didn't get the casting of Ian Holm and having him do almost nothing. I don't really understand that, but that's whatever. I thought Nick Cage was good. I didn't like the little thing at the end. We're talking this whole time about not justifying anything they do, but I feel like that tack on about, these are the 5 members of the UN. I think that's dumb. And they're trying to make themselves feel better, but I don't know. But other than that, it's fine. I'm with Corey, though. I don't see myself watching this movie again, but it was a good watch. So I'll give it a yes.
Thanks, y'all. Do y'all have any ideas on what kind of food, spoilery food that could be? Lord of War,
brown,
shellfish, or how about the broast or whatever he was making?
No, perfect.
Yeah, I like that.
Because it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
There's some sort of beet cold soup or something. I looked that up.
Fishy soie?
What?
Yeah, what did you just say?
Fishy soie?
It's the soup that Batman has in Batman Returns. It's fishy soie, sir.
Trivia! You guys ready for it? You ready for some trivia?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
If you're new to spoilers and you just are Googling Lord of War podcast, I love Victor Bout, and you clicked on this, I want to explain something to you. We do trivia at the end of every episode, and whoever wins the trivia between Kylo, Pappy, and Brett gets to pick the next movie that we review. It's simple and it's fair.
It's simple and it's fair.
We're gonna play.
I hope it's Young Guns quotes, because I will dominate.
No, it's not. And I would love to go to Young Guns quote. I would love to do that just generally, as every trivia that I do. But I'm gonna call this trivia script tease. I thought Brett might like that. We've played something similar. I'm gonna tell you,
featuring Demi Moore.
I'm going to tell you a term.
Burt Reynolds.
Actually, I will tell you a word, and I want you to tell me how many times that word shows up in the original script. One thing that's kind of tricky is that you might have to account for a handful of times it being in the description.
Oh, the old Control F.
Because it's a script, right. Hold on, I'm going to fire up Elden Ring.
Wait, what does Elden Ring have to do with that?
I think he's making allusion to you in the trivia and how he doesn't like it. Maybe, I don't know. And you were going to go fire up Elden Ring?
Remember, I went to Indiana one time, Josh? And
yes.
All right.
No,
anyway,
tell me.
Go on.
Tell me.
You drove me to the airport?
Remember you were like, I'm going to lose trivia. Let me go turn on Elden Ring.
Yeah, but that was Brother Jordan's trivia.
Plus, Corey
and it was
and I
shitty.
We like trivia. We don't like guessing games as much as actual trivia.
I don't think this is actual trivia. This is not a guessing game.
I like it. Is it just one word or are there multiple?
I think we each get a word. Let's hear them out.
No. It's way more democratic than that. And one of the things that really drew me to sticking with this trivia was this little fact. At the end of the movie, do you remember what Nick Cage's last quote is? And I'll go ahead and add this in the edit here.
You know who's going to inherit the earth? Arms dealers. Because everyone else is too busy killing each other. That's the secret to survival. Never go to war. Especially with yourself.
He says, that's high praise.
Don't tread on me. I don't know.
In the movie, he says it's important never to go to war with yourself.
Oh, yeah.
But in the script, he says, what's important is that I never went to war with myself. That's kind of interesting. Everything else I've read in the script has been verbatim, but I just wanted to point out there is slight differences.
Does that last line make any sense? Like, what does that mean?
Let's not.
Listen, we already did final thoughts, Pap.
All right, sorry.
Okay, so this is a closest to game, but will accrue points, and whoever has the least points at the end of these 4 terms will win. It's kind of like golf. Whoever has the least amount of points at the end of these 4 rounds wins. Kylo, you're gonna go first. The first term we have is how many times does cocaine show up in the script?
My favorite Eric Clapton song.
Clapton.
Is that in the script?
That's my answer. I'm gonna say 18.
8.
That's what I was going to say.
Brett.
This is about closest to, or like how close?
What?
The golf.
This is only round 1 of 4 or 5 or something. So
Okay, so I'll say 7.
the correct
think
answer.
they say
The
it
correct
all.
answer. Cocaine shows up in the script 12 times.
Ah,
It's very, very close. Pappy, you were the closest. 4 strokes. And Kylo, you
second.
had 6 strokes.
I'm second.
And Brett, you're in between with 5. I got it under control. You're fine. You're fine. Next term. And we'll start with Brett this time. It's a country. We've mentioned it a few times on this pod. It's the Ukraine.
Oh, jeez. And all of its variants, or just Ukraine?
Ukraine.
Okay. Oh man. 63.
Pappy.
Okay, I'm going to factor in the script notes for he outlines cocaine in the shape of Ukraine, which probably added a couple. 12.
Kylo.
20.
Oh man, I'm gonna be way off, aren't I?
Brett, you
63
managed
is
to
a
pick
lot.
up 50 strokes. The correct answer was 13. Pappy, you were 1 off. Kylo, you're a 7 off.
Almost a hole in one.
Very good guess. There's 3 more categories. Anyone has a chance still. Pappy, you're up first, so I'd say you'd have the disadvantage this round, but the word is automatic.
20? Well, no. 18.
Kylo.
22.
Brett.
I mean, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do here. I think they say auto a bunch of times. I don't know. 31. I don't think it's that high, but I gotta try something.
Automatic is said or spelled out 0 times in the script. So it's a bit of a trick question. So, Pappy, you actually said the lowest number, 18. You won that round. A little bit of chance for redemption here. Pappy, 25. Kylo, 35. Brett, 86. The next word is gun. Kylo, you're first.
58.
Brett.
112.
57.
Hold on a second. Brett's was just so far off. I'm trying to get the math down. What did you?
So you didn't.
What did you say,
didn't
Brett?
Do
Yes,
Control
I did
F.
do Control F.
Dude, I feel like there's not that many.
Well, then that should pick up guns too.
No, just the word gun.
Whatever.
What was your guess? 112.
12 is what I said.
12. Oh,
He said 1, 1,
112.
2. Oh, did you actually say just 12?
No.
So the correct answer The word gun is only said 30 times in this movie.
What a pussy script.
Oh my gosh. Kylo, you had 28 strokes on that, Pappy 29, and Brett 82. So not too much significance as far as the movement overall, but we do have one last term. And it's something that I cracked. It's something that I cracked on early in this podcast, but they seem to make it so clear that yes, Jared Leto and Nick Cage are brothers. Okay, we know they're not brothers in real life, but they're brothers in the movie. They say it a bunch of times. Said in the script. They both say it out loud.
Okay, so it's more than one.
How many times? Yes, it's not a zero trick answer. How many times is brother in the script? Pappy.
9,000.
Wait, no, it is Brett.
I'm joking.
I think Brett should be first.
No, I should go second. Last.
Okay, Pappy, you're up.
18.
Okay.
Scaredy.
Kylo.
4.
Brett.
39.
The correct answer is 29 times. A little bit fewer than I thought it should be. Pappy, that puts you in the winner's circle here. You're
Let's
all
go.
alone. You get to pick the next movie for spoilers.
Off the schneid.
Just off the hip. Do you think I should do it's like a trivia like that, or do you want me to do like the thing where I do like accents with like the streets and shit like that?
I like the streets or D&D to decide them all. Like those are some of your greatest hits.
If we're going to do
Play
D&D,
the
we're
hits.
starting at 8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock a.m. Anyway, let's toss it over to Spoiler Man for a really quick break, and then we'll get back here, and Pappy, you'll choose a movie for us to cover next week, right?
Yes.
That's the idea. All right, take it away, Spoiler Man.
Special thank you to our patrons, Druid King,
Why'd you do that?
Matt Troll, Brother Brian,
It's okay, they're talking.
Nick,
Curious how you always revert to your native tongue in moments of extreme anger.
The Meg,
I thought you were supposed to be watching out for these people.
David,
Ты слушай, что я тебе говорю, лейтенант! Ты попридержи их как можно дольше!
Nurse Stacy,
The Kono, it's not the crystal. Kono, K-O-N-O.
The Wolf,
Clean?
Barky 420,
There is no substitute for the 6 inches of muzzle energy of the .357 Magnum, and of course, it will never jam.
Davey Kerr,
I use gun. That's a good one.
Total Movie Recall,
What did you say?
Spencer,
You know, there is no discipline with the youth today. I try to set an example, but it is difficult, eh?
PK.
Personally, I blame MTV.
If you'd like to request an episode, hear your name read by Spoiler Man, or even just help us make podcasts, please check us out on patreon.com/spoilerspodcast.
Pappy, did you happen to think of a movie that would be good for us to cover next week on spoilers?
Yes. I haven't picked a movie that I haven't seen in a long time. And this showed up in our letterbox stats. We don't have like any of our little circles filled in for like top 250 women directors or movies directed by women of all time. This is also on that list, so we should like fill in that circle for our stats. But I'm gonna go with the 2000 Brett's Boy, Christian Bale. We're gonna pump up Willem Dafoe, go back to back Jared Leto, American Psycho.
Ooh.
And you, oh my gosh, this is so up your alley, dude.
I've never seen it. It's like one of the top
I know, it's
ranked movies, like most seen on Letterboxd that I haven't seen. So I'm pretty excited.
It's good. It's like black, dark comedy. Like, I laughed out loud at it a few times. But cool.
I hate to say it, but Pap, that was my episode. And now it's up to you to take it away and toss.
Thank you for that run of patrons. I know it was a long time since we've done the movie game. I think we still have like one left that we need to do. But then we might cycle back through the Patreons or something. We'll figure something out. We also need to get a couple more of those in-person episodes. So thank you for listening. That was Spoilers.
Despite the other women, I always made love to Ava as if she was the only one.
That was Spoilers.